Hello, this is H1. We're going to be running it back with another episode talking about chess knowledge, chess wisdom, and chess understanding again. Today, we're going to be going over a game on how to handle big attacks from our opponent. And in this game, Wesley So is playing the white pieces and Visha Anand is playing the black pieces. And he survived two brilliant moves, two big sacrifices in the position. Let's see how he handled it. Let's get the board on the screen right now. And yeah, let's get started. In this opening, e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6 is called the king's pawn opening, and then it transposes into the Italian game, and then after bishop c5, now it is the Guccico piano. These are the first few moves in this position. And this is really important too, because most beginners actually play in this fashion. So if you play this opening, you should be paying very close attention so that you can learn the opening so that you can learn this opening better. And why not learn this opening while analyzing Grandmaster Games that's already been an expert in this opening, that's already played this opening many times more than you. After this move, bishop to c5, c3, getting prepared for either d4, b4, attacking this bishop on c5, but black did this move, knight to f6, attacking this pawn on e4. How do we defend? There are a couple ways to defend it, but we are going to do the move d3. Now, you can be very flexible in the Guccico piano, just to give you some opening knowledge here. You don't have to do this move c3 like a few moves before this. You don't have to do this move c3. You could do d3, you could do queen e2. I've seen people play it like that. I mean, shoot, you can castle kingside here, play h3. There's many more moves you could play because this is a very flexible type of system. Now, let's continue on. c3, knight to f6, d3 in this position, protecting that pawn. After d3, d6, because they want to develop, where's my stick at? Because they want to develop this bishop on c8 eventually, and that bishop is outside of this pawn chain right here. We always want to develop the bishops first before we keep it inside this pawn chain, because we want more active pieces. And this bishop would be active on e7. It would be active still on f8. After d6, knight b to d2, very common move. We're gonna figure out where that knight is gonna reroute at. And then we have this move, castle kingside. Castle kingside. Castle kingside, h3, preventing that bishop from ever going to this square on g4. A lot of beginners hate this pin along this diagonal. And if you hate this pin so much, then once your opponent does d6, or even e6, it could go vice versa, do h3, a3, and move on with the game so that you don't have to deal with that pin anymore. Grandmasters know exactly when to do a move like this and how to get out of those pins just naturally. There are many ways how to deal with that pin other than doing h3, but I digress. Let's get back into it right quick. After h3, a6, because that bishop has to go somewhere. And then what is Wesley So gonna do next? Bishop to b3. You don't want to get our light square bishop captured with the move like knight to a5 beforehand. They before the move a6, if they did knight to a5, we had this move bishop b5, bishop a4, and back to c2. But with this sneaky move a6, you might be thinking, okay, maybe this is just a square for the bishop to go back. Every single move has double purposes with grandmasters. And yeah, knight to a5 was that double purpose of trapping that bishop. Bishops in certain positions could be better than knights. Just to give you that little tip too. Always remember that. Always remember that. The two bishop advantage is very important, and that's the difference between grandmasters thinking and beginners. Now, after a6, bishop to b3, and then we have this next move, bishop to e6. Bishop to e6, trying to trade that light square bishop. Do they trade? There are certain positions or certain grandmasters that trade the bishops or do a better move here. But Wesley So decided to actually do this move, bishop to c2. Bishop to c2, and then after bishop to c2, d5, strike in the center. We're gonna have to figure out what's going on here after this move, d5. They're trying to control the center. They're opening the center with our king on e1. For some reason, grandmasters like breaking principles, because I would be if this was a beginner playing the white side, I would be why have you castled yet? Why have you did every other move but castle? But I can't do that because, they've been playing chess way longer and got the strategic advantage over me. They can whoop my tail, but I can teach all of you beginners who is under 2000 elo. Now, d5, bishop to g5, not castling still, hitting that bishop on e6 because the bishops are really important. D takes on e4, and the bishops are so important that we have this move. Knight takes on e6 first instead of just recapturing the pawn. What is those moves called? When you do something in between, other than like doing everybody's seen this capture. Everybody would have probably just recaptured the pawn and went along with your day. But learning these intermezzo moves is important. That's how you get the advantage over stronger opponents, because most people don't think about the in-between capture moves in the position that is more threatening. Like, for example, this pawn cannot capture this pawn on d3 anymore because this knight on e6 is attacking this queen and this rook. So black is going to have to deal with this knight. It's going to get crazy after this move, because after f takes on e6, d takes on e4, and most experienced players probably looking at this position like, what's going on here? This is kind of scary, especially when you learn how to look at your forcing moves all the time. Bishop takes on f2 and it works. Bishop takes on f2 and it works. Now, you're probably looking at the bar on the digital board and realize that it is still triple zeros. Nobody's winning, nobody's exactly losing either. This is a brilliant move that white is going to have to deal with. Usually when a brilliant move happens on the board, somebody is winning, but white still just have to defend accurately. How do they do that? Well, they're definitely not doing moves like king e2, king f1, because if you do that, you're losing. You just allowed your opponent to take a pawn. Let's capture that bishop and get prepared for the worst. What do I mean by that? Well, before we capture the bishop, we're going to have to calculate what happens with this file here. This knight can go anywhere in this position, and this rook would be checking the king on f2. What is that called? It's called a discovered check, which did happen here. Knight g4, that's the route that they went. And now we're going to have to analyze each and every single square, which move is better. And that's exactly how chess goes. You have a lot of time to do this, and you have to calculate it, and you have to keep all the calculations in your head. Wesley So decided to go g1, not stay in the center with the king, because if you stay in the center, it's going to be a lot more danger. And you might be thinking, are the other squares good enough? Like, were there multiple defensive moves that white could do here? Actually, no. King to g1 was the only move that keeps everything equalized. If white does king to g3, knight e3, and then they're in trouble. Two in trouble, actually, because this queen could go to g5, checking the king, the knight is attacking the queen, the rook is covering the f file, and yeah, too many threats. They're gonna have to deal with this big threat first, though. Yeah, this is just horrible. King g1, have to do it. You have to guard the king. After knight to e3 still, attacking the queen and the bishop, we're gonna have to think about the best move for us. Where do we put the queen? Wesley So decided to put the queen to e2 in this position. And e2 actually covers a lot of squares up. Rook f1 happens, king h2, still good. You're not forced to take the rook. But that knight can take the bishop on c2. What happens after the knight takes the bishop? Because that was the main idea. Doesn't that mean that black should be losing here? Isn't black just up? Didn't they get their piece back? Are they just up a pawn? After knight takes on c2, the best move, rook b1, because we don't want to get our rook captured. And then you realize something. The opponent doesn't have enough pieces to attack, and this is kind of what happens if you're not fully prepared for the attack yet. It might look good, but it isn't really that good. And in the human standpoint, you might be thinking, okay, I'm either winning or I'm gonna lose. And once you think about it, if black has no other threats in this position, this knight is trapped on the c2 square. And we know our trapped tactics here. And it's kind of weird for a grandmaster to trap their pieces. After rook b1, we have another brilliant move. And this could be a fascinating finish if Anand would have got this win. But he didn't. We still have to be like somewhat, confident in our ability to defend a position like this, because the white side, they could just be thinking here, oh, I might be losing. The second brilliant move in the game, I might be losing. This sucks. I don't know how to go against this guy. After knight 6 to d4, c takes on d4, best move in this position. The second best move was queen h5, but who's doing queen h5? C takes on d4. Queen takes on d4. And this move was really important to check the king. King h2. The king is safe. No more real checks in the position because this queen isn't going to g1 here. But white is still going to have to deal with this move, rook to f2. Our pieces look like crap. It seems like our opponent is going to be attacking for the long run here. And we need to figure out how to untangle everything and make sure that we put our pieces on the right squares. So where would you put your queen at? There's several different spots. But the best spot and the only spot to put the queen, weirdly enough, the only spot to put the queen is queen to g4. Because at least queen to g4, you're threatening this check here. If queen h5 happened, then like rook goes here, and yeah, that's just bad. All right, there's a lot of pressure on our king here if they're able to like form a battery, if they're able to go along with their plans without us interfering with it. After rook to f2, queen g4. Knight to e3, and all these moves are really good by black. Queen takes on e6, checking the king. The king had to move to h8, and then we have this next move. Rook to g1, protecting this pawn, keeping everything tied up, making sure that all the threats are simply nullified in the position. And Wesley So's been just finding the best move every single time. And not most people could do this, but if you want to get better at chess, you got to be the best at defending. You got to train this ability so that you can sometimes win losing positions. And white is fortunate that this wasn't a losing position, but anybody dealing with this without looking at the engine or looking at the best move would have felt like, dang, I might be losing since my pieces are uncoordinated. Coordination is really important, and there's a lot of tells that, white just might not be doing so well. After queen d3, best move here, queen d3, keep your tabs on that, rook on b1. Queen takes on e5. The confidence to keep on taking pawns is hilarious. And then we have the worst move of the position because black just released the tension altogether. The best move for black is actually doing knight takes on g2, weirdly enough. Knight takes on g2. Because after knight takes on g2, I gotta do this. We're gonna look at this. After knight takes on g2, if rook takes here, rook takes, king takes, queen e2, and I'm thinking it's some like repetition draw that's gonna happen here with the queen, because the king is a loner and there's nobody that can defend or block. And so, yeah, this is bad. This is bad. We don't want to draw in a winning position like this. But that's what the computer's seeing. Black probably still thought that they had something, and that's why they played the move rook a to f8. Rook a to f8 makes a lot of sense here. But what is the best move after this? Well, Wesley So just played queen g3, Very normal, just bring pieces to defend. Not the best move, but an accurate move. It still gives white that little bit of an advantage. Queen e2, second worst move. And then we have this little move here that Wesley So played. He played this move b4. What is the purpose of b4? Well, look at this. After b4, rook took on g2 because, you know, they're just trying to get their pieces active. At this point, rook b3 was going to be coming pretty soon. Rook takes on g2. Rook takes on g2. Knight takes on g2. After these few moves, do not take back, because if you take, rook f2 is pretty sad. we don't want rook f2 happening here. And then the game continues. But the best move, queen g4. After queen g4, black resign. After queen g4, black resign. White is 100 times better. If queen takes on g4, just h takes on g4 and we're up a full piece. If knight f4 happens, then we just clearly take the queen on e2. And what's another move? If queen e3 happened in this position, then bishop b2, threatening checkmate on g7, and then now our pieces finally come into the position. They're activated, and it's weirdly enough, we're just not paying attention to that knight on g2. Activity in chess is really important, and defend and act really is really important too. It goes hand to hand. If we're in a cramped position, then like all those moves is very vital for Wesley So to win this game. And Anat knew it, and Wesley So did too. That's how he was happy to win this game. Anyway, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Thank you for listening to me, and keep on fighting till the end. Stay in focus of chess and in real life too. Peace.